Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Red Letter, Yellow Letter podcast, a weekly anarchist, voluntarist, agorist variety podcast where we talk about and philosophize the morals and ethics of everything going on in the world today, tomorrow, and in the future. I'm your host, The Nev, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host and fellow anarchist, Harley. Harley, how's your week been?
Hectic.
Dumb,
good.
Crazy, tell everybody about the snakes, Harley. Tell everyone about the snakes.
Yeah, okay. So it wasn't too long ago. I've had people telling me about snakes. They've been getting on their property, including my neighbor across the street. She came over to my house. She's like, hey, just so you know, we just had a rattlesnake nest hatch under our house, and the mother killed one of my dogs. I'm like, oh, God, you know, I'm like, yeah, we haven't had any so far. 5 minutes later, I find a snake at the property. But since then, yeah, freaking 3 snake incidences, 2 of which are rattlesnakes all this week within 24 hours of each other. I heard my dogs flipping out, and I look under the doghouse, and there's thankfully just a tiny little gopher snake, but they're freaking out, paranoid, scared, trying to get it and all, and it took off after a while. But
the dogs were freaking out.
What?
It was the dogs that were freaking out.
Oh yeah, the dogs are, thankfully the dogs are the ones, they're really good. They know to keep their distance, but they see any snake at all, they hear any snake, and they start losing their minds and doing what they can to get my attention. So they'll watch, and they know to stay back, thankfully. But they will go to the door, they'll go to the windows, wherever they can go, and just flip out and try. One dog will watch the snake and just kind of show me the area, while the other one is like looking for me, trying to get my attention. So that evening I hear him doing it again, and I said to myself, I swear if I go out there and it's a fucking rattlesnake, and I go out there and in the corner yard is a fucking rattlesnake, I'm like, okay, well, here we go. And you know, I've got rabbits, I've got dogs, you know, I've got kids. I'm like, look, this snake needs to go.
Yeah.
And
well, it's small, isn't it? You know, I mean, if a full grown adult, you know, you've got enough time to get some anti-venom, you know, inside of you.
But... this one was an adult. It was an adult for sure.
Oh. Right.
Yeah, but yeah, it was. So I'm like trying to freaking like, look, I'll let other snakes go. I will pick up. I've done this. I'll pick up gopher snakes, king snakes, whatever. And if they're closer than I would like to my rabbits, then I will just relocate them somewhere else myself. It's really rural. I'll pick them up. I'll go walk down, and I'll put them somewhere nice and empty and open and safe, you know, away from the road, etc. I don't do that with rattlesnakes. I have lost too many animals to rattlesnakes, literally climbing in their cages, starting fights, and killing off my rabbits, eating their babies. I don't have tolerance for this, okay? So I grabbed the BB gun, and my BB gun actually really sucks ass, so it took a good while before it was freaking dead. And then, gosh, so I was out there basically until my co-parent came, and that took like an hour and a half because he was in the middle of town. And finally, team effort, we got rid of it. And then the next morning I go out there, my dogs are flipping out again, and I'm like, this better not be what I think it is. It's a very distinct bark. It's a totally different sound. It's a more stern, serious sound. So
it's
I'm
like, excuse me, there's something in the backyard and we don't like it.
Yeah, it's not just like I see a coyote and I'm going to bark to chase it away. This is a get out here now, stern kind of bark, you know?
Yeah, not you're on my territory, piss off. But, you know,
so like,
we need some assistance.
Yeah, so I'm just like, this better not be. And I'm out there and I listen. I barely hear a rattle. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So I go out there and I go to my son's dog. I'm like, show me where it is. Show me where it is. And she goes along the fence, and there it is, already coiling and striking, pissed off, angry, nasty, bigger than the one last night, aggressive little son of a bitch. And it had a way to escape. Yeah. It just was refusing.
It was being a stubborn,
right there.
A stubborn twat.
Yeah, it was just stubborn. So I grabbed a shovel I wasn't planning on getting it with the shovel. I was trying to get it to just leave. I was just like, go. And I'm trying to like,
oh yeah,
stare
no,
out.
yeah, I was getting the messages. I was getting the all caps messages from you
right,
about
exactly. So I'm like trying to get it to go out. I'm like, just leave. You literally are under the hole where you can leave the fence. Just go. And he's just not backing down at all whatsoever. So I fired, a warning shot, and thankfully I had the shovel in front of me because he struck at me twice. The shovel like blocked it both up. I mean, he was just nasty. This is the most aggressive. I've come across many rattlesnakes in my life. I used to care for an elderly rattlesnake that would get seizures and crap. Okay. I'm fairly well versed in snakes. This is the most aggressive snake I've ever met in my life. So after being out there for like an hour in the heat, trying to get it just leave, he's like not budging, just not budging. So I'm like, okay, fine. Dogs were in the house. I just kept them inside, away, which sucks because they crapped in the house a couple of times, but you got to do what you got to do to keep them alive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So after a while, it finally left, and I haven't seen any since then. But my gosh, yeah. So I had all this work to do, and like I had quite a chunk of time taken up because snake drama twice one day, and then again the very following flipping morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that going around at the moment. Do you think maybe do you think maybe the rattlesnake had heard the news, and maybe that's why they were being so out of control? Because it's like, I mean, like you said, they had a way out. They could have just gone about their business, but instead it's like, no, I know this is your yard.
Under the fence line. Yeah. It was like literally under the fence line, right in between the fence line, in a big old hole. Because I mean, I've got like a little over an acre of property. And not the entire thing is fenced, but a large chunk in the center, like it is fenced. So it was under that fenced part where it could have just gone out. It was literally in the escape area. It just wouldn't do it. It just stood there staring at me, hissing and rattling and striking. Just, I don't know what pissed it off. So I don't know if my dogs flipped it out, but this thing was already aggressive and angry as soon as I saw it. And that's not usual. I mean, I've literally almost stepped on a rattlesnake before, like look down, I'm like, oh shit, that is right in front of my foot. And even that one didn't get aggressive until it ran under some stairs and was getting nervous from people walking on the stairs above it.
Yeah.
This one was just pissed off and ready to kill. So I don't even know. I don't know what the hell crawled up its ass, but it wasn't good. So
well, there was a lot of that. There's a lot of that been going around for the last 24, 48 hours. There's a lot of people being, unusually and strangely, for no reason whatsoever, being, nasty and aggressive and striking out,
emotional,
and emotional and making threatening behavior. And like I said, the rattlesnake's the perfect analogy. There's the way out. The exit's right there. You can leave any time you want. You don't need to be in my backyard, being all nasty and up in my grill and rattling your tail. Don't need.
There are predators. You can see there are creatures trying to chase you out, potentially hurt you. Just go.
Yeah, well, we're saying go, and if you won't, be nice, and it's like just walk away, walk away, leave the backyard. But it's like, no, it's. You see the rattlesnake, the perfect. It's someone just wagging their finger. It's literally, that is the snake wagging its finger. It's like no, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. I can't do I can't pull that off. Oh no, you didn't. I'm like, get out my backyard. But yeah, no, that's that was what's happening. Because I don't think I've ever seen so much nonsensical blast. I mean, don't get me wrong, we're not talking about this wasn't like the world doing it. We're talking about a small percentage of a small percentage of people.
A very loud small percentage.
But obviously, very, very loud. It's like 1% of 1%. And the problem is, because this 1% of the 1% has a very large megaphone, that 1% of 1% gets heard more than you would expect 1% of 1% to get heard.
Right.
And then there's another 1% of 1% that wants that 1% of the 1% to be heard. And it's like, look how crazy this 1% of 1% is. And it's like, yeah, but you're also 1% of 1%, so why should we listen? And then it all just gets, so everyone's megaphones, it's like listen to my megaphone, and the others, no, listen to my megaphone, and then you've got us in between, like, oh my God, guys, can you just all chill the fuck out? It's one person, one human being, all right? There have been times where, something has happened to one human being that has been very important in history, There are some real nasty sons of bitches out there that died, and everybody was like, oh my God, thank God for that. That guy killed so many people. The world is a better place with them not in it. But this little old lady is not what I was expecting. I was not expecting the reaction. It's like this sweet little old lady has passed away and everybody just lost their minds. And it's like, I don't get it, I really don't get it. And I know I'm English, but
what's that?
I know I'm English, so people will be like, oh, you're English. It's all right. You don't get it. And it's like, yeah, no, it's not that I don't get it for the reason you think I don't get it. I don't get why someone dying would mean a very small vocal minority all of a sudden starts threatening everybody with violence. And I'm like, seriously? One little old lady dies and a bunch of people start threatening other people with violence? That's what I don't get.
Right. Well, and it reminds me, it's two different things. But one thing is that reminds me of like when a celebrity will pass away and all of a sudden everybody was a big fan of them. All of a sudden they touched my life in so many ways. You never spoke about them ever. You talked about all these other celebrities that you idolized, but you never mentioned this one until now. And now in reference to RGB, she, again, I know that there are some people who definitely really looked up to her, but like you said, the outcry that's been stewing from it, it's like, I've never seen any of you people mention her in the past before, ever. Now, I understand that some of the concern was that she might pass before Trump had finished his presidency, which means he has to pick a replacement for her. And nobody is really comfortable with his idea of a replacement. So I can understand the concerns in that regard. But it was still something I never really saw people speak about that much, And so it's like now that there's and it's not even just that. It's not even just the concern. It's, oh my gosh, I idolized her. I had an action figure of her. And my son did this when he found out she died. No, he didn't. Stop lying for clout. Stop acting like, oh, this hits me. You're victimizing yourself. Oh my gosh, I'm in so much pain now because my hero, she wasn't your hero.
Yeah, no, it's not.
He was not your hero.
It's not
more than for some people, sure, for sure. Okay, I'm not going to doubt that there are some out there, but as many as I'm seeing these screaming, screeching liberal women or liberal, I'll say, women on TikTok, etc. Like, no, there's no way.
Some of those reactions.
The reactions are completely absurd. And I made a post not too long ago, and I said, look, if you are trying to get a political point across to me, if your method is to act like a tantruming, screeching, shrieking, sobbing, foot stomping 4-year-old, you're not conveying a good message to me. You're conveying the message that you are irrational, that you come to conclusions based on emotions rather than logic, that you're immature, that you've never freaking mentally grown beyond the age of like 10. You're the last person who should be teaching me about politics. I don't care if it's a joke. I know some will do it as like a joke, but the problem is it's just, for one thing, it's not funny. Secondly, it's still just obnoxious. It's annoying. It's not pleasant to hear you just shrieking into this void, like this one video that was recently going around of this individual like saying that she's gonna be voting for Biden because I hate the two-party system. I believe it's corrupt and all, but we can discuss dismantling the two-party system later. I mean, she even said voting for Biden feels like voting for a Republican. but still going to vote for Biden because the other option's a fascist, as if they're not two sides of the same coin. And literally crazy-eyed shrieking into this video. Even if it's a joke, it's not cute to base the way you communicate like what you saw on Cartoon Network.
Mm-hmm.
It's like watching an Adventure Time character shrieking to me about politics.
Yeah.
It's not entertaining. It's annoying. It's immature. If you're going to teach anybody anything, if you have a point to make, sound like an adult when you do it.
Yeah.
Because you're tainting this is the big thing. This is the big thing. I don't like to just crap on people's like what keeps them happy if they're having fun, whatever. But when you are actually hurting your cause, you need to hear you're hurting your cause. Yeah. When you are acting like a child, you are perpetuating a stigma that's already there for your political demographic, for your age demographic, for multiple demographics. You're perpetuating the stigma against progressives, that they're all immature, emotionally based, unstable, probably need to be medicated because they've got some kind of mental issue going on that's not being treated and probably affecting the way they think. There's all kinds of stereotypes and stigmas out there towards millennial progressives. And when you act like this on camera, whether or not it's a joke, you're
massively underestimating your audience is what you're doing. If you put something, there is definitely something, like it's like this, the lights are on, but there's nobody at home. And it's kind of like, I'm expecting this reaction. I'm going to do this and I'm going to put this video out and this is the reaction that I'm expecting. And then the reaction that is garnered from what they've done is like, no, that's not, no. I mean, the best reaction, the people have parodied that Hitler movie with lots and lots of, politically satirical, funny stuff. Well, one of the two best reactions that I saw to those two girls that were acting in the way that they were. The first one was the Homer Simpson one, where he's slowly walking backwards into a bush until he.
Right. Yeah.
But the second one was actually quite new, and it's the audience's reaction to the dance scene from Cuties. So what somebody has done is they've cut all of that inappropriate bullshit from the Cuties movie, and they've just taken the audience reaction, which we know from reviews gets progressively worse and worse and worse. And then what somebody has done is they've cut those videos in and they've cut back to the audience. So you see the audience getting more and more and more progressively shocked and disgusted at how that person is reacting. And I thought that that was very, very poignant and very up to date, because a lot of people prefer using that older stuff, and I'm like, somebody's taken something quite recent there. It's not like, oh, the whole Neo bloody Matrix red pill blue pill. It's something that someone's come up with quite new. It's current. And they've taken that, and I thought, you know what, that's really going to resonate with a lot of people, because it's true that people's reaction got more and more shocked as the videos of people's, and this is it, it's just people's reaction. Sorry, it's people's overreactions. Yeah. Because we're not, a reaction would be, normal, rational, logical people saying, expressing their condolences towards the family. That's a reaction.
I saw a video that was like comparing some other guy. I don't know who this person was or anything, but it was him talking about his political concerns, and he's very calm, looking into the camera, just very relaxed, and like, here's blah 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 blah. Here's my point. Here's what needs to be addressed. Here's maybe what we can do to change this. And he's just very, very relaxed, mature about it, compared to the other video I just talked about. And someone actually said, someone who bases how they communicate off of TED Talks versus someone who does off of Cartoon Network. And the thing, and that was a perfect analogy. And the thing is too, is that these, especially these, the dancing, the ones who try to be all cute and sexy and stuff while trying to get their points across, like, or the ones who, you know, just shriek and scream and cry into the videos. Here's something they don't seem to understand here. They are speaking to the wrong crowd. Because the fact is, those on TikTok are largely, especially those who are already watching these campaign thought videos, whatever you want to call them, they're already likely aligned with them.
Yeah, they're already in a bubble.
They're just screeching into an echo chamber until that video gets found by somebody who already has it in their head to make fun of progressives, who already has all these stigmas of progressives in their head and are posting it just to say, look, here's how they are. They're terrible. They're obnoxious. They're immature. Let's make fun of them.
Yeah, here's an outlier.
And it just hurts their cause more.
Mm-hmm.
So acting like a child to a bunch of people that think it's cute to act like a child, it's not going to get your message out there in the way you want it to get out there. You're preaching to the choir, and then you've got the people who hate the choir already then see it, and then they're just hating the choir even more. They don't want to listen to the choir. So it's just backfiring. It's just completely backfiring on themselves. You know, it's almost like self-sabotage.
Yeah, no, you're not far
it.
off. You really aren't that far off, and the choir is the perfect analogy. I mean, I was using the 1% of the 1%. The 1% on both sides is the choir, and the 1% within that 1% is the solo vocalist.
Right.
That's making the choir look, so it's like choir, and they're all, you know, the choir's in their echo chamber, and they're all singing off the same hymn sheets, and they all sound good to themselves, and then all of a sudden one person stands up to do their solo, and it's like, oh my god, stop, oh my god, will you please be quiet? You're making we were all in sync there, we were all doing well, and then all of a sudden you sound off on that, and you make us all like a bunch of complete and utter lunatics. I mean, the thing is, a lot of the people outside the 1% bubble still look at those people and go, well, all right, maybe not lunatics. That 1% of your group is probably lunatics, but you're still in a group that is kind of siding and supporting those lunatics. You know, you say when you may not be screeching on a TikTok video, but when you're saying things like burn it all down, and someone sees that, you're seeding fear. You know, it's a threat of violence because you don't like something, and it's like, that's just not, you know, in English, you know, to use an older English colloquialism, that's just not cricket. You can't make random threats against random people because something hasn't gone your way. So you may not be screeching like your solo artist, but everybody else in the choir are still saying screechy things, you know?
Yeah, you're still associating with them. You may not be as extreme, but you're still sticking with that side. And it's ironic to me because I'll see people say, especially progressives, to be honest, they'll say, Christians, keep your fellow Christians in line. Or Republicans, keep your fellow Republicans in line. You know, you guys say you respect women, so when you see your you know, creepy redneck uncle hitting on a 15-year-old girl, you need to say something. And which I agree with. Don't get me wrong, that's not incorrect. But I'm also seeing progressives completely silent when it comes to, I mean, either the ones who are just shrieking and giving everyone inciting violence. Hey, let's, you know, punch everybody.
If we don't get what we want,
kill them, smash their buildings, or even pedophilia. There's like, that is a drastic issue right now in a lot. And I know it's not like a progressive view. You know, it's like a lot of pedophiles are trying to claim pedophilia is a sexuality, and they're trying to find a home in the LGBTQA+ community. And, you know, the vast majority of that community is going, hell no, first of all, that's disgusting. What the hell is wrong with you? You're not even human. Secondly, that's not a sexuality. Pedophilia is not a sexuality. It doesn't even belong here in the first place. So they're all saying no, but when their politicians are still being creepy and preying on children, when a lot of their favorite artists are doing, because gosh, I mean, how many freaking artists recently have been discovered, especially those in children's entertainment? A lot of the animators and the writers, directors, etc., finding child porn in their systems, etc. That somehow gets brushed under the rug, and then the excuse, oh well, I separate the crime from the artist. But if it's somebody right wing, then they want to cancel them. It's a double standard. It's like, no, you need to cancel. If you're going to cancel someone for pedophilia, I'm definitely not going to tell you no. But you can't just do it because they're Republican and not do it to the Democrats too. That's bull. That is absolute bullshit. And it really speaks to me just how
Herman Polanski. Herman Polanski.
Right?
Sorry, I've got something in the back.
I remember when that went down too. I remember all that, but it just speaks to me. It's the same hypocrisy in your standard America right-wing Republicans. I'm a Christian, and yet I want to blow up everybody overseas and keep the immigrants out, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's very Christian of you. But then you get the progressives going, well, I'm very liberal and I believe in peace and love and acceptance for everybody. And we need to protect those who are suffering the most. And then you won't stand up for these child victims because the person who perpetuated the act just happened to be one of your heroes.
Yeah. Yeah.
David Bowie was a total sexual predator. He totally was.
There's multiple out there.
Oh yeah.
And unless they are the most egregious of offenders, it's like oh, that's just a small offender, that's a big offender, and it's like okay, I'm a little bit confused because 2 years ago you Me Too'd people for asking women out for a drink,
right?
And
oh
now...
my gosh, I actually had somebody say to me, at first, I didn't think I would be part of the Me Too movement because I couldn't think of any true sexual harassment experiences I've gone through. And then I remembered the one time my boss glanced at my cleavage. Okay, if you're somebody kind of on the bigger side, like this person was, often wearing massive cleavage showing clothing that barely contain their like double F boobs, anybody's going to notice that. Literally anybody, whether you're attracted to it or not.
It's not just the dudes. Everybody's looking at that going, oh.
Everybody's noticing it. I'm sorry. Literally everybody's going to look and see it. It's just there. It's right there. Like you can't really avoid it. Like it's not like we're all going to be staring like, oh my God, are their face right in there? But it's like, we're going to notice it at a glance. And then I saw another one actually say to me, not to me, she said this like in a forum when all this was first going down, like on Facebook somewhere in a group. She actually made a post saying, I feel totally left out from this Me Too movement because I've never been sexually harassed, and now I'm wondering what's wrong with me, so I never got sexually harassed. I'm not fucking kidding. I'm not fucking.
Oh my God, that is
It became like, and people like. This is ruining actual victims.
Yeah, no, it does. It has the potential to screw things up for actual victims. Yeah.
This is why they say, oh well, women don't speak up. We don't speak up because we're afraid of not being believed. I get it. But when you're acting like that, literally just finding ways to include yourself so you feel prettier or whatever, more desirable, you are downplaying the experiences of other victims. And that is also what makes it more difficult for people to believe the victims.
Yeah, and it was trying to lump in someone that, brushed an arm with someone that, physically gropes another person. It's like, no. That is completely different to that. But what you're doing by highlighting this person that inappropriately brushed up against somebody is, it's not letting off the hook the person that physically walked up to a woman and groped her, grabbed her in an extremely highly inappropriate way and then just walked off as if like, oh, I've just grabbed you and I'm just going to walk. Like, no, that is something that needs to be dealt with immediately, swiftly, and that is not. And do not put that into the same category as that, because that is a lot more serious than someone just brushing up, brushing up
Yeah.
against you, and you screeing into the ether. Oh, someone just inappropriately takes emphasis away from the guy that just groped someone inappropriately,
Mhm.
just so that you can put the spotlight on you, and you may feel some kind of an affront that someone brushed up inappropriately against you, but you should not be getting the spotlight taken off actual victims of more serious
Right. Again, it
uh, uh,
shows how much you
actions.
actually care about the well-being of others versus whatever agenda you're trying to push for your own selfish purposes. You can claim it's because you're trying to be a hero towards women all you want. But when you are trying to steal the spotlight and you're trying to compare your accidental, elbow to a boob or something to a child who had been raped, everyone's going to tune you out. And then they're going to question how many women are lying because they wanted to be included in this movement so they felt better and more desirable. How many women really just had a minor accident, just an accidental bump, or a glance
Yeah.
at their shirt real quick. How many women are just taking those tiny little incidences and claiming that was a full-on, sexual harassment or even catcalling? Okay, look, here's the thing. I agree. It's not comfortable. I do not like when I'm, walking or something and some guy grabs my waist, excuse me, pushes to the side when they're trying to get by an aisle. You can say excuse me without touching me. Okay? I get it. I don't like it either. It's skeevy, I'm not going to go screeching and crying sexual harassment when they're legit victims of abuse, victims of rape, etc., that aren't even getting the help they need, who's the rapist or whoever actually committed the act is just scot-free because no one's believing them. Because, well, how do we know she's not lying? There's no proof. How can we believe her? Women lie about this stuff all the time. Women take a tiny experience and blow it out of proportion all the time. Why should we believe her? That's a big part of the problem. And again, it's self-sabotage. People are self-sabotaging themselves more than they realize. I want women to be believed when they're hurt. I do, because it is more common than people want to acknowledge. Pedophilia is more common than people want to acknowledge. I've actually posted on Twitter not too long ago an article all about a teacher that I had in high school who was arrested for failing girls, teen girls, and bribing them with better grades in exchange for provocative photos and groping them. Mm-hmm. And I was the next victim, we found out. And guess what the best part is? Well, a couple things. One, he only got 3 years. That's it. The real cherry on top here is that he did this the year before at a different school. And instead of prosecuting him or anything, or even firing him, they just switched into a different school. They just brushed it all under the rug and switched into a different school. I remember another teacher right before that, it was the same year at a different school, because I went to 3 different high schools that year. Okay, that's how horrible schools were. I actually remember on my first day, it was a history teacher, older man, and he actually said, girls, if you don't want us men looking at you, maybe you should dress more modestly. I'm a man and I have my urges. Saying this to 14 and 15-year-old girls. Yeah, it's everywhere. It is everywhere. It's more common than, and I didn't speak up because, to be honest, I was in a really, really difficult time. I knew it was skeevy. I was like, what the crap? But I was at really one of the most difficult times in my life. My family was actually, my whole family was actually homeless and staying with friends for a while because we got screwed over from landlords doing illegal stuff. Mm-hmm. Oh. So we were not in a good place at the moment. So I just did not want any more drama. I just didn't. So I didn't say anything, but that never left my mind. And then having that with the history teacher, because I was getting excellent grades. All my work was coming back fine, at least a B, at least I was doing fine. And I got my report card at the end of semester, and he flunked me in everything, including behavior. I sat there listening silent, raising my hand when I should. I was always a good student, especially behavior. Like I was a student to go skip my breaks and clean up trash around the school. Okay. I was always a well-behaved student. And he flunked me in both aspects, knowing I would have to retake the course. But what he didn't know is I was already scheduled to go to a different school. So I ended up taking retaking the class at a different school, which also pissed me off because if that didn't happen, I actually would have graduated early. But yeah, that didn't get to happen because of him. So it was only a couple of months later after I switched school, my mom calls me down and she's like, do you know this name? I'm like, yeah, it was my history teacher. So we're looking at the patterns and we're like, wow, he literally flunked me, likely to do this. It's everywhere and people don't want to admit it. And that's why I'm like, stop making yourself a victim if you're not really a victim. Stop downplaying these experiences that actual victims are having. You're hurting them. It's so
making mountains
selfish.
out of molehills.
It is so selfish to bring the attention to you and like completely exaggerate your experience just so you could feel more desirable. That's not okay. So yeah, I mean, seeing all this overly dramatic, look how much it's victimized me. Look how much RGB's death has victimized me and it's hurting me. And it's like, no, well, it's not.
A lot of I mean, here's the thing. I always try to understand why that overreaction has occurred. And to you and I, to people like you and me, that we look at that and go, okay, that's an overreaction. Yeah. But to them, it could be a genuine reaction because they've conditioned themselves to be so hyper sensitive about something. So they have lived and grown up and been in an environment that has done nothing but feed their sensitivity chip. And every single day and every single year they've been in that environment that just makes that sensitivity chip even more and more sensitive. And then all of a sudden something will happen and they'll just snap. And that hypersensitivity that they have suffered from a very, very young age just goes into overdrive and we see these reactions. So it's not that we're, and I wouldn't say it's like, oh my God, you're overreacting. It's look, I understand, that you are, what you see that as just a normal reaction. But what you need to understand is that people are not as sensitive as you and you need to dial it back. Yeah. So I'm not, I'm not empathetic towards people like that who are, literally have their sensitivity chips dialed to 1,000,000. The problem occurs is you understand, you empathize, you explain, but then they double down or they go worse. Now, what if you say to someone, I understand why you've reacted like that. This is why I think you've reacted and you need to dial it back. At that point, they either dial it back and go, oh, you know what? Maybe you're right. Thanks for that. I needed that. I needed that proverbial, that metaphorical slap in the face because that's what used to happen. That's what happened in the movie Airplane. The woman's there. Oh my God, we've got to get out of here. And then everybody just queues up and it's like, calm down, dear, calm down. And, there's a person with a knife and a hammer and a gun. And they're all trying to calm this woman down who's being overly sensitive because the plane's going to crash. That's kind of what needs to happen with people that get ridiculously oversensitive. You need that. They need that, that it's the slap in the face. Then, then the person with the boxing gloves, then the person with the knife and the chains and the nunchuck and the gun, until they finally calm down. Because if they don't, that oversensitivity is just going to worse and worse and worse. And
and I feel like there's likely several different components that led them to that point. And I try to empathize because on one hand, it's like, okay, there is a chance they grew up in a household where they were just not heard. No one would take the time to listen to their concerns. At the same time, they also so they may have grown up where it's like, okay, I have to be loud. I have to be obnoxious before my concerns are finally taken to be seriously. But there comes to a point where you have to kind of stop and go, okay, you're an adult and it's time to fix that behavioral pattern because to us, we don't know. All we see is an adult. We just see an adult shrieking into the void And we're going, why is she acting this way? So while she may have these underlying, and I say she as in just any woman, because it's usually women that I see. Not always. I've seen men do it too, but it's usually women that I see doing this.
I've seen a couple. I've seen a couple of videos of men going, off. Men going off the deep end.
Oh yeah, no, they're definitely out there. I just usually see the women, so I'm just saying she. I could just say they. Whenever they're doing this, they're not realizing, look, we don't know who you are. We don't know why you're acting this way. All we see are signs of an unstable adult, and that's not going to do you any favors. You need to slow down and take it easy so we can understand your concern better, because otherwise we're just seeing an overly reactionary adult not responding to a situation maturely. Stressful situations are part of life. And yes, there are going to be certain things that hurt us more than others. And I mean, I don't know, maybe they were just somebody, that's another thing too. Maybe they're already somebody who just could not really process stress very well. Maybe they just grew up in a stressful environment and never really learned how to process that stress, and that, now they're an adult not knowing how to process it.
But it's somebody that's had a bad day.
Right. And that's just it. It's like, okay, but you shouldn't be broadcasting this like this. It's going to hurt you more, and it's going to hurt your cause more, and unfortunately, we're also, a lot of us, especially, I'm going to say it's pretty heavy millennials right now, because a lot of us have grown up where 9/11 hit us at a pretty young age. Okay. For me, I was 10. So give or take 10 years old. Since then, what has been in the news? Terrorist fears, Muslim fears, airplane fears, TSA this and that, fear. We've been at war all this time, trauma, fear this person, fear that demographic, etc. And we've been spoon-fed it from our parents. It was all in our schools, like crazy, all over the news.
I'm so glad I did not grow up in the internet era.
We did. We grew up in internet era and all this fear and conspiracy and but it's okay. The government's going to take care of you. We know there's fears from these people, so the government is going to place stronger, TSA guidelines. They're going to place this and this and this to keep you guys safe. So millennials are growing up thinking, okay, everything is scary. Everything is so scary. The government is supposed to protect me. The government's supposed to keep me safe. And when the government does not keep you safe, when one thing slips, like the death of someone who was fighting for, women's rights, etc., it all crumbles because they don't know what to do with themselves. So many millennials have grown up without, and not even just basic life skills, just being taught the government's supposed to protect you. The government's supposed to do this for you to keep you safe. That's why we need more taxes, is to fund this for you and provide that for you and protect you from this and that and this and that. And so when that one little thing slips, it's that fear response. It is that exact same fear response that they've grown up in and conditioned to live with since early childhood. And it makes them spiral. They don't know what to do. I mean, it's just this nasty conglomerate of various factors.
You could have got away. You could have got away with it 30 years ago, maybe maybe even 20 years ago, just before the internet boom, because that screaming into the void would literally have just been screaming into the void. You would have either been going off, or you'd have been drunkenly ranting to some random person sat next to you in a bar or at a friend's party, and you'd have been like, oh my God, I just can't stand this person at work's doing this to me, or I can't believe that happened, I saw that, and it would be between two people, and then there'd be a bubble of people that'd be like, whoa, okay, crazy person, I'm gonna go stand over here now. But now it's like everybody seems to feel the need, and it's one of the things I don't quite understand. I mean, I was this close to doing it myself back in 2017, and I kind of held back a little bit. But everybody seems to feel the need to put it all out there in public. And it's like, there are things that you can genuinely, have a good old rant about in public. But you've got to try and make it, not as visceral, that people are going to react in a really, really negative way, you know? So I don't think there's any issues with people putting, you know, these one, you know, great big positive, you know, oh, a positive rant about something. Oh, isn't this absolutely wonderful? I'm so happy with this. This thing's really, really happened, and it's really, really great, and I'm really, really enjoying it. I mean, so looking forward to what's going to happen in the future. People can resonate with stuff like that. It's like, oh wow, you know, that makes me feel really, really good, and it gets the endorphins going. But then, what tends to happen these days is that there's less and less and less of that, and there's more and more and more of people thinking, I'm going to go off on one, and it's gonna be very negative, and it's gonna be very I'm going to downplay things, and I'm going to say things that, you know, you know, from an abstract perspective, that people are going to listen to and think, oh my God's sakes, really? Things aren't that bad, you know.
It's a fear response.
And it does. It tends to happen more, and the, you know, the 1% of the 1%, and before anybody says it, it's you know, numbers. It's just an abstraction. I'm just saying 1% of a 1. What I mean is a small number of people. So that 1% of 1% are getting more and more and more vocal, and they get more and more and more negative. And there's no benefit to it. So be less negative. You know, people out there need to be less. And I get it. I understand that, like you said, there's a generation of people have been raised on this, not so much thinking they can get famous from it, because I see a lot of people saying, oh, you're just trying to get famous from it. It's not that I think people think that they're going to get famous from it. It's that they see it so much that it's become, as far as they can tell, as far as they see it, because of the bubble that they're in, it's become the social convention. So the social convention, if you're angry about one hot button topic or one specific issue, it's like, oh, well, I've seen this person, I've seen a video on someone do that and that and that, so I'll do that. You know, I'll turn my camera on while I'm driving and I'll record my reaction, because there's nothing new in that. There's a guy in the UK whose YouTube channel was the angry cab driver. And that was what he would do. He would turn his camera on, and something would be in the news, and he would just rant. But it was kind of meant in a slightly satirical, you know, he half meant it, half didn't mean it.
Right.
And there's a difference between doing it from a satirical, half mean it, half don't mean it point of view, and someone that's looking at the camera and they mean every single word that they are saying. Just needs people that react and record it in that way. Yeah, sure, they need help. I'm not suggesting they need professional help, but what they need is somebody, like a real friend, to go to them, sit them down, and say,
they need
look,
somebody,
you know,
to actually listen.
Yeah. And
I think
say,
that's
look,
honestly
yeah, I think
that's a big part of it.
Yeah, I get you have a problem with this, and I understand that, you know, this is, you know, that's just the way that your brain is chemically wired to react to the news that you've happened. But the way you've reacted is, you know, probably not the best way forward. You know,
right.
What you did was, you said with your loud voice what you should have been saying with your inner voice. So, you know, you look at the camera, but instead of pressing record, you know, you take it, you go off on one, and you say all of those things. I used to do it when I was at work. I used to work in a steel factory, and my friends would sometimes look at me really, really weird, because I worked on my own for like 8, 10, sometimes 12 hours a day, and people would look at me talking to myself. And it's not that I'm talking to myself, I'm talking to someone that just isn't there. I'm not talking to myself. Having a conversation with yourself, that would be a little bit cuckoo. I'm having a conversation. You just gotta
get it out there.
Exactly. I'm having a conversation. I wasn't talking to myself. I was talking to somebody that just wasn't there. And that's what, you know, but I wouldn't get my phone out and record it, or get my phone out and go live, you know, okay. And you know, so there's nothing wrong with people having that conversation with somebody. Just don't hit the live button. Seriously, just hold off.
Right.
pull yourself back. Don't push go live. Have that conversation. Have that rant. Just have it without the other person actually listening to it. You'll still feel better.
I feel like it's a bad mix of not having a hero and therefore needing a hero, having nobody to listen, therefore they're going to make people listen.
I can see an element
So
of
many
that.
of us, so many of us, I mean, myself included, I've been screwed over by teachers and counselors and therapists and CPS workers. I mean, just everything, every freaking name in the book I've been screwed over by, because I'm like, look, here's what's going on. I need help here. This is what I need. This is what's happening to me. I need help figuring out how to make this better because I don't know what to do. And I was either just completely tuned out, nobody really cared, or as I discussed in the first episode, they just lied about everything I said. I mean, my needs, my concerns, my fears, everything was very often downplayed and ignored. And I know I'm not the only person who has gone through that by any sort of means. I know. And so these people around my age, they feel like they've never had a hero. And so they have to be really loud for others who may not have a hero, loud for those who are trying to have a voice but are not being heard. So they're going, well, I'm going to get this done and fixed for you. I don't know who you are, but I'm going to do it. And so they start screeching to the void, like, I'm going to make them listen to you. And it's like, no, that's counterproductive. That's not, the hero needs to be mature. The hero needs to be adult. And I understand if, it can be hard because it's like, well, I tried being diplomatic all these years growing up and nobody listened to me. But the difference is now you're an adult. You can't act like a child, like a spoiled child. And that's not to say that you are spoiled by saying, look, this is something I need. This is something detrimental that needs to be fixed. It's not spoiled to say you want that change for yourself and others. It's that you're acting like the kid in the grocery store who was told, no, you can't have that candy, and is then throwing a fit in the middle of the store. That's the problem. That's how people are seeing you when you act like this. And it's counterproductive. And it just perpetuates those stigmas that looking hair, the colored hair and the piercings and the glasses and everything in that millennial age range, that we're all just obnoxious, screaming, daddy issue, blah, 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 individuals who can't get a grip on reality. And when they see us as someone who can't get a grip on reality, that means to them, we don't understand what's actually happening in the world. And if we don't understand how things are actually happening in the world, no one's going to listen to us. They're just going to, nope, they're wrong. She's wrong. Why listen? She doesn't understand what's actually going on. I know better. It's again, self-sabotage, not intentionally, but that is what it is.
Yeah. And if you don't think people aren't going to use that against you to make you look like, unhinged and crazy, and, that everything that happens, that kind of that literally, it could have been because you just had a really bad day. You had a bad day at work. You're at work, some obnoxious person called you up, and you're there at the front desk, customer services, and they just gave you absolute shit for 15 minutes, and then you've got to your lunch break and you've turned on the coffee machine and it's exploded all over you, and then you've got towards the end of the day and you're doing your work on a spreadsheet, and all of a sudden your PC crashes and you lose all your work, and you're in your car and you hear the news that somebody, a person of an individual person that you like, of no massive major consequence but of consequence to you, has died, and you're just like, okay, so nobody knows. Exactly.
I've been there, including with a celebrity death. I have been there. Like, I remember when Adam West died, I was a really big Adam West fan. Everybody knew that. He died the day after my biological father died. And that whole situation was absolute hell because his siblings were doing everything they could to actually steal our inheritance and everything. I mean, it was bad. So, I mean, the whole family was pissed off and scared, and just every day was a crying mess for everybody involved. And so when I found out the next flippin' day, which by the way, this is also the day. So basically it was my daughter's birthday, then my birthday, then he died, and then Adam West died. Okay. He was on his deathbed all in that time as well. So it was a really horrible, stressful week. And so when I found out that Adam West died, that was the very first time I ever chucked my phone across the house. I'm not even kidding. I was so pissed off. I'm just like, nope, chucked it. I was, I mean, I get it. I totally get it. But again, I didn't record myself.
Exactly. You didn't record yourself. So, and people that record themselves and put that moment, that put that significant moment out there, and then it gets shared, and it gets spread all over the place, and people go, my God, look, just look at this is what the 1% of the 1% are like, and the 1% are supportive of this person. It's like nobody's going to care that you had the customer service call from hell first thing in the morning, that the coffee machine exploded on you, and that your PC went down and you lost all your work from the day. Nobody cares about those 3 things that culminated to the piece of news that tipped you over the edge and made you go, bananas and completely and utterly stark raving mad. Okay, nobody cares about all of those things. So don't put it on the internet. And the people that the 1%, the people that are in that bubble, don't highlight it, don't make it any worse for the outliers by posting these pathetic little one-liners. It's like, if we don't get what we want, burn it down. If we don't get what we want, burn it down. Because if there's none of that, then the 1 or 2 people that do go bonkers on TikTok, people will just look at those as the outlier and go, oh, there's somebody that's clearly had a bad day. Okay, and I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt because I've never seen that individual person react in that way ever before. I'm going to give that person the benefit of the doubt. It's the 1%, it's the group that they're attached to that makes them think, well, that must be normal for that person. Because look at all of these other people on TikTok, and look at all of these other people on Facebook and Twitter that are all saying, if we don't get what we want, burn it down. And they're probably, and because we've seen the video of the person screeching, we can see the person typing. We can imagine in the back, we can imagine in our head that they're not just calmly going, if we don't get what we want, let's burn it all down. What we're seeing in our head is, if we don't fucking get what we want, we are gonna burn this motherfucker down. And that's what we're thinking while they're typing it. Okay, so stop typing threats, stop being nasty human beings, stop being self-righteous pricks and assholes and tossers and wankers. Okay, take a step back from the keyboard. Don't make threats of violence, and don't kind of say things like, if I don't get what I want, everybody should go and do this.
It sounds like a tantrum. I didn't get dessert, so I'm going to go break your vase, Mom. That's how it comes across to people. It's immature. And here's the thing. I understand, well, they tried peaceful protests and it didn't work. I understand that. I do. Okay. I mean, whether it was in regards to kneeling, as a protest or whatever, oftentimes the peaceful protests do come and nothing comes of it because, what are they going to do? And then they just completely 180 and are full on violent. But then oftentimes the violence is not directed at the right people. So then it's still hurting their cause. I understand the finally breaking mentality. It's like, you know what? We tried. And you guys were not listening. We played by your rules and it obviously didn't get anywhere. So here we go. We're going to be much more serious this time. I to an extent, I do understand that. But when you're taking it out on the wrong people, that is counterproductive. And that's what's happening. You're also just taking it out on the wrong people. And again, I don't think many of these people doing this understand. It's almost like they're out of touch by what heavy stigmas and stereotypes are directed towards, you know, these millennial ages, et cetera, especially the women and stuff. You know, like an example, actually. So this is actually something I did. I already had my colored hair, wasn't shaved like it is now, but I had my colored hair. I had my lip ring and everything, multiple piercings. I didn't do this on TikTok. I didn't have TikTok, but I made a quick little video and posted it on Twitter about how the reactions that people were having, and this is when the first shutdowns were going on and everyone was like fighting over toilet paper and crap, you know?
Yeah, I remember those, the good old
Yeah,
days.
this was about, I basically was taking all these situations and I'm like, look, when you're acting like this and you're completely over the top reactionary, paranoid, blah, 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 and you're literally fighting people over bottled water and you're hoarding and stealing all the resources and leaving nothing for the elderly while you're claiming to be all about, oh, we need to take care of the elderly. We need to have higher taxes so we can take care of everyone. And meanwhile, you're stockpiling all the resources, leaving nothing for those of lower income who can't just go run out and stockpile. You know, you're not acting in the right mindset. Why should I trust you to be able to vote? You know? And so I kind of went into that a bit. I made a little video and I posted it on Twitter. I can't tell you how many times they got retweeted with people saying, I fully expected this to be some kind of socialist ranting bullshit based on the way she looked. Literally just because I had the blue hair and the piercing. They went, I fully expected this. I was prepared to laugh at it, but holy shit, she had some points.
If you can't take care of yourself, if you know, I understand it. You know,
well, it was just because they saw my look. They saw the way I looked. They went, the hair, the piercings, the age range. We thought this was going to be a type of message, and then I watched and went, nope, she's right. And plus, I was calm. I was stern, you know, but it was still chill. Hey guys, this is how you're acting. This is what you're doing. Maybe you shouldn't be doing that because this is, you know, what.
And now we're doing it even longer.
Well, it was.
Now we're doing it even longer and on a bigger.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But yeah, I mean, again, like just the fact that I looked the part, they made all the worst assumptions. So when you're looking the part and then you're screeching and shrieking and screaming and crying and slamming your hands in the car and like
driving dangerously, because that was
look on you or anybody that matches the stigma here.
There was definitely some dangerous driving going on. Oh.
Yeah.
Or some driving without undue care attention.
I don't drive, but I can tell you that wasn't smart driving.
Yeah, no.
Just saying.
I was, you know, first time I watched that video, I was thinking to myself, this reminds me of something. What does this remind me of? Oh yeah, no, this reminds me of the Twitch thought that was live streaming and actually had a car crash, and Twitch streamed her car crash live while she, because all you saw was the camera going, you know, upside down, and then it stopped, and obviously the car came to a standstill on its roof, and you just saw her upside down, and it's like, I mean, it wasn't like, we're not talking like a high-speed crash. We're talking about someone that wasn't paying attention, that turned the wheel, and got clipped. And if you're traveling at, you know, even at a slow speed, and you turn in too tight an angle and get clipped, it'll be enough for the two wheels to go, and then, you know, the whole thing. And all that happened was the car rolled. It didn't crash. The car, all she did was roll her car. I'm thinking, when I'm watching this and I'm seeing her shaking her head and her hair's getting in the way, my first thought wasn't, oh my God, someone's going nuts here. It was, is there a crash at the end of this video? Because the way she's reacting, I'm thinking, you know, her hair's getting in her face. She's not concentrating on the road. She's concentrating on her phone. Is there a crash at the end of this video? When there wasn't, I'm like, okay, so the video was about the rant then, and not the fact that she rolled her car.
And see, that's just another thing that makes me go, you know what? You can't even drive safely because you're letting your emotions completely take a hold of you. I cannot trust people who let their emotions just completely override all rational thought to make decisions on my life, which was the point of that video I mentioned before. But it's like, yeah, I see this stuff and I'm like, you know what? You're the last person who should be teaching me about politics. You are being way too emotional. When you're being emotional, you're clearly not thinking rationally, not even for your own well-being. You're not even driving safely. You could kill yourself and somebody else
or a
with this.
rant.
You know, yeah, you could legitimately hurt multiple people, but you don't care. You just want to rant and scream to the void. And because you're not taking these serious, basic logical concerns seriously, why should I trust you to be able to make decisions on my life? Why would I want you to vote? Why would I want you to tell other people how to vote or what to vote for? You're ruining your whole message as far as I'm concerned.
It just, you know, I mean, from a certain point of view, it's good, and from a certain point of view, it's bad. That the good point of view is people will look at that and go, I'm, you know, the Homer Simpson backward, not voting, not voting, not voting, not voting. And then, you know, the other perspective is, you know, they're the, you know, you're sat, you know, you're sat in the audience of the video that's cutting backwards, and it's like, right, I'm so voting opposite of whatever that girl stands for. So it
Right?
has, you know, there's a duology there. Some people will be like, I'm never voting ever again because that's it, I'm out, I'm done, forget this game, not playing it
Right.
anymore. And then other people are like, oh my god, she's crazy. I need to find out exactly what she believes and vote the exact opposite way, because people like that can never, ever, ever be allowed to
Yeah.
be in a position of authority, let alone vote for people that think like her, that
Yeah.
should be put in a position of authority.
The only people that are going to be like inspired or whatever by these videos are those who already shared the same views.
Yeah, exactly. You're
They're
not
not going to do anything
exactly.
different.
You're not breaking. You're not going to be breaking anybody out of the echo chamber with something
No.
like that. You're not. All you're doing is reinforcing the echo chamber that you're in. As you know, the people that are in her echo chamber watch something, watch a video like that, watch a rant video like that, and go,
Mhm.
"Oh my god, yeah, I wish I'd done the same thing." And there's probably a half a dozen to a dozen people that have done exact same videos but have only been slightly ranty,
Mhm.
and they've probably only got maybe a few thousand views, as opposed to, you know, hundreds of thousands of views. And you know, it's like, yeah, no, that one.
Oh, sure. The stronger the reaction, the more it's going to spread for
Yeah,
sure. But ultimately, that just does not matter because you're not spreading it to the. It doesn't matter how many people are seeing it,
no, you're
because
making an
ultimately,
emotional
again, you're
argument.
not changing any views, and you're just reinforcing those stereotypes that are already in the heads of other people. Going, wow, she really is crazy. Why would
Mm-hmm.
I support this? It's just because it reached more people doesn't mean it was a good thing, and it ultimately could be more damaging because it was spread to more people who now just think you're batshit insane,
Yeah,
as are your
yeah.
views.
And
So
no,
yeah, it
and
doesn't,
yeah, and no one's going to care about your bad day. No, seriously, girl, no one's going to care about your bad day. You know, you know, somebody will be like, yeah, I was in the office with her earlier on, and the coffee pot just exploded all over her. But you know, no one cares about them. It's like, and at
people
the
don't even think of that when they're like out and about and maybe their server isn't as peppy as a server could be, you
no,
know,
yeah,
like it should cross people's minds more, sure, but it just does not
yeah,
ultimately. And if people already don't really have much tolerance for their waiter who is maybe a little short and not super friendly like they could be for their job, and so their tip got decreased, you know, people already don't have patience enough for that. What makes you think they're going to have patience for someone who's just shrieking, screaming, crying, tantruming over whatever political point they're trying to get across?
it's like
They're it's
it's
yeah.
the cool head prevailing. That's why the expression is let cooler heads prevail, because cooler heads will always prevail, you know. Yeah, but be the person that just sits there, while someone's shouting and screaming and ranting at you, or do something, you know, do something out of left field, you know. So if you're sat there and there's someone screeching at you, you know, stand up and sing a song. Because just literally, if someone's screaming at you, they expect you to give them 100% attention. So if you just
Yeah.
stand up, there's a song that you know off by heart. Literally, I kid you not, if someone is shaking their hands and their fists and they're screaming at you and they're yelling at you, stand up and just sing out loud a song with the words you know. And you're not giving them your, you know, just, oh, you know, for me, it would be something from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Okay, I've always said in the back of my mind that if I ever find myself in a situation where somebody is just going to scream and rant directly in my face, stand up and I'm just going to sing a song. I'm not going to give that person the attention that they desire. And if someone wants to film me singing that song, it's like, hey, I don't care. People are like, what is this guy singing? I've never heard this Tim Curry sweet transvestite song before. What I must
Oh no,
YouTube
I'm
it.
sure they would. Okay, like actually no, social justice warriors and millennials and all that love the ever loving shit out of that movie.
I love that movie. That's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Don't hate me,
The
I've
Rocky
actually
Horror
never
Picture
seen
Show.
it.
You've what? Sorry.
I've never seen it.
You've never seen the Rocky Horror
I've
Picture
never
Show? Oh
seen
my
it.
God, I've lost count the amount of times I've seen the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It
See,
is
here's my thing. I don't really set aside very much time for like movies and games and crap
Mhm.
anymore. So if I'm going to watch a movie, it has to fit my little specific niche of
Yeah.
movies, which tends to be things like The Fifth Element, Indiana Jones, Guns Akimbo, John Wick. I like punching things that explode. Okay. So it has to I like watching Keanu Reeves chuck glass at people until it stabs them in the eye. I like watching Daniel Radcliffe with guns bolted to his hand. Like, so if it doesn't have that kind of stuff, I'm just like, I don't really bother.
Oh, you see, no,
Yeah, I still haven't seen it.
I like those. There's a couple of movies. Don't get me. I like those types of movies that you've just talked about there. But I do like. There are like a handful of musicals out there that I really like.
I
Rocky
love
Horror
every
Picture Show is
musical.
one of them. Another one would be. I like that kind of out there, left field, eclectic type one. Another one of my favorites is Earth Girls Are Easy.
Never even heard of it.
Earth Girls Are Easy. It's a movie, but it is, for all intents purposes, a musical because throughout the entire movie there are musical numbers in it, and one of
Yeah.
them is one of them's called "Cause I'm a Blonde," and it's just a chick saying, I get X A B C D E F, I get X Y and Z because I'm blonde, and that's the chorus, and it's
I've never heard of that. Yeah, and
oh,
I was never really into musicals though, so like it just
I love
never really like happened from an early age. I was into science fiction and action. Like some of the earliest movies I remember being my favorites, like as a little kid. One of them was The Fifth Element. I think that
it.
was one of my first PG-13 movies, and I fell in love with it. And by then I was like, I don't know, 5, like that was just the kind of stuff I loved. I loved aliens. I think that was a big part of it. I loved movies with aliens. So I loved watching all the action in the alien movies,
Mhm.
like Men in Black was another really big favorite of mine. So that just kind of my taste in violence and
I'm trying to
boom,
think
big
of a
bada
musical
boom.
that's there are no action. I can't think of a single musical that's also an action movie. That would work. That would really, really work. I
Maybe.
swear to God, an action movie that's kind of like a musical would
I'm sure
work.
there's something. I just don't really know of any. I don't
Well,
really watch
what about
them.
South Park? Bigger, louder, longer, uncut. That was a bloody good musical. Matt Stone and
Oddly
Trey
enough, I
Parker.
used to watch South Park constantly and I never actually saw the movie.
Oh my God.
You know what? I think it's because I mostly watched South Park when I was in my young teens.
Hmm.
And so I actually would watch it with my parents. And that was kind of the limit for as like vulgar I was allowed to watch. So we never watched the movie because it was probably worse. And so it just never happened, you know?
I'm pretty sure it won an Oscar or a Golden Globe for the music. I mean, I'm sure it definitely got nominated. If it didn't win, it definitely got nominated. But I'm pretty sure that it won either a Golden Globe or an Oscar for Blame Canada because one of the music numbers in the movies Blame Canada,
I
which
know of that song. Yeah.
exactly everybody knows of the song because you've got Blame Canada. Carl's mum's a bitch. Shut your fucking face, Uncle Fucker. Just Matt Stone and Trey Parker just really know how to do numbers
I feel like there's another musical of something that I would watch, but I can't think of. I mean, I was never even like that into Disney movies. Like there were some I liked for sure. I loved Aladdin, partially because Robin Williams was my first crush. So I absolutely just loved Aladdin because he voiced Genie, blah blah blah. Otherwise, I liked Mulan a lot. I was on Beauty and the Beast. Never saw Sleeping Beauty. I was on Cinderella. Like, I mean, I was on Snow White. A lot of Disney movies, I was kind of like, they're enjoyable, but they weren't like my favorite by any means, except for like a couple. Oh, Lion King. I love Lion King. But I was just never really that into peppy, happy musical stuff. I liked like seriously, like when I was like 6, I used to like run around pretending to be FBI and like setting up little dolls. I would pretend were aliens and grab my squirt gun and shoot them all to death. Like that's what I was doing when I was like 6.
The animated movies that,
not
especially
really so much princess stuff.
no,
It was,
the Disney animated movies, the Disney animated movies that were the best were the ones that had the best comedy.
Right. Honestly, I noticed a pattern though in my taste in Disney movies.
I'm sorry.
I noticed a pattern in my taste in Disney movies growing up.
The ones with the ones with good comedy, all of the ones that you mentioned that you liked have good comedy relief in them, and
True,
the ones that you don't like have
none. The ones best where the protagonist stuck it to their authority. There was like like Jasmine. Jasmine was like, I don't want to do what you're telling me to do. Mulan fucking pretended to be a man to dress up as a soldier and risk getting, having her life taken from her, not just as a soldier, but if they knew she was a woman, they would have executed her. And she did it anyway, just to, keep her family safe. Like it was just, I don't care. I'm going to do what I think is right. Those are typically the ones I like best, or the ones that I don't care what the law says. I don't care what the authority says. I'm going to do what I want. Mm-hmm. That's probably largely also like what shaped my attitude to this day too. I'm sure there was a bit of that in there.
We see that I think that's one of the things that makes us. There's probably one of the core differences between you and I is it's about. Okay, screw you guys.
Well, not necessarily. No, I'm not just doing stuff that I'm just like, screw you guys.
No, not screw you guys. What I mean is screw you guys as in authority.
Well, no, I know. And for me, it's not just a matter of, well, screw you guys. For me, it's just simply like, that's not right. I'm not going to do it. That's all it is for me. It's like, nope, this is the more moral route. So this is what I'm going to do. It's not like I'm doing things because I'm driven to stick it to authority. I'm doing things just based on, do I think this is right? And if it's not, I'm not going to do it, plain and simple. That's all it is for me.
Yeah, no, for me, it's looking.
I'm just loud about it.
Yeah, for me, it's looking at something and going, "Oh my God, seriously!" The level of incompetence and/or negligence here is stunning.
Well,
to the point where I'm like, yeah, okay, that there are alternatives that are less incompetent and negligent. And I want to know. I think that part of that was because of my project management background, because. As a project manager, when something goes wrong, I look at it and I think, okay, when something goes wrong, it's either incompetence and or negligence. I will attribute something that goes wrong to, I won't instantly attribute it to malice. It'll be, incompetence over negligence. So it's incompetence first, then negligence. 90% of the time, it's incompetence, and 10%.
Right. So for you, the main focus is you're not, or at least what's kind of first, in your head here, so to speak. It's more, is it actually functional? Is this an intelligent method of handling it, or are there better alternatives? Well, for me, it's more morality, ethic based. Is this right? What are the underlying immoralities hidden in there? How is this actually more damaging than it is helpful? Is this an ethical method?
Yeah, my instant reaction a lot of the time is down to the functionality, and then a millisecond later it's like I apply the morals. So
and I'm morals and ethics first.
See, I will because that's just it. Because if something is working, I'll look at it and I'll go, well, all right, it's working. So I see the function working, and then it's like, well, yeah, but it's not moral or it's unethical. So,
right.
see, if something is even if something's working, you need to acknowledge that it's working and then
Right.
apply the morals and ethics afterwards. You because the way I've always looked at things is you can't apply morals and ethics to something without first knowing what the action what the action what comes from an action from somebody. Because if there's no reaction to a person's action, that you can't attribute a moral, any moral or ethical authority on it. And that's just the angle that I've always come from. And like I said, that's probably because of my project manager background.
See, with me, my big thing is that, and this is a very large part of what eventually led me to, well, I think it's just because of um, my background and just getting so heavily involved into, the conspiracy theories, and even just looking at like, when authority says we need to do this because of the functionality. Okay, but look how you're damaging those who may not even realize they're being damaged. Let's read. My thing is read between the lines. So something maybe like, yes, this is functioning, but it's like, okay, it's functioning, but how is this demographic actually getting hurt that we're just not confronting and talking about? We can say we can do this because it's going to work and it might work, but is it working for these people? Ultimately, maybe working for us, but maybe it's not working for these, and therefore it's immoral, and we need to figure out a new method.
Exactly.
Instead.
Yeah, because
that's kind of just
when I used
how
to,
my mentality
and
works.
that's why I look at the function first and apply the,
Mhm.
because somebody will argue to me, oh well, yeah, but but this is working, and in order to get off on the right foot with that person, I'll be like, well, yeah, of course it functions, of course it
Right.
works, but is it moral and ethical?
It's
And
functioning, but is it functioning for everybody?
because
Is
I
it
will
really
always,
functioning if it's hurting other people on the side?
yeah, because I like to apply, I like to ask that person, well, yeah, but that's working for you, but what about the unintended consequences for other people? You know,
Exactly.
and I'll say, hey, look, the unintended consequence has a positive effect for you, but it has a negative effect for other people.
Right.
So why not come up with another functioning solution
Yeah.
that is, not unethical, but has a good solid moral grounding, that is that's good best practices that can be applied across the board. And a perfect example, just something else that we were talking about earlier on. A perfect example of that would be what Sony did with the new PlayStation 5. They've made a product, and they've said this is when we're releasing it, and they've gone to all of the people that sell it and said we're going to give you all of this stuff, and then we just want you to sell it, but we want you to sell it on this day. And all of those people have broken those rules and sold it early, and a bunch of scalpers have come in and bought all that technology early. And Sony's like, well, we made the product and we sold it, and it's like, so what? You're devolving your moral and your ethical responsibility to your customers to provide them with a product that is going to them. So you've just made something and you've sold it to a bunch of unscrupulous people in the hope that they will ethically and morally resell your product onto the customer, instead of just directly selling it to the customer and giving your customer good value for money. What you've done is you've gone, yeah, we don't care about our customer, we've made our money. I mean,
Yep.
how completely, I mean, it's like one of the biggest dick moves I think I've ever seen. It's not like Xbox 360 versus PlayStation 3s back in the early
That's
noughties.
normal free market competition. This is not, or meaning the Xbox 360 versus the PlayStation. That's just going to happen when you have multiple companies making products. There's going to be natural competition. This is not competition in this situation with the PS5. This is just
Microsoft are going to destroy them. Because Microsoft will be like, okay, whatever PlayStation, whatever Sony just did, let's do the exact opposite, because
right.
they really pissed off their customers. Their customers are screaming for their product right now, and the only way that they can get their product is from a bunch of assholes that have already bought their product off Sony. that, Xbox will be like, right, okay, let's not piss off the gamer community, guys. Let's just sell it direct to them. Let's make sure that whoever is selling our product is selling it directly to the consumer, or people are gonna take our shoes and socks off and light a fire under our feet, and we're gonna look like a bunch of corrupt assholes like Sony does right now. And Sony have come out and said, oh, we're so sorry, we'll make some more. It's like, too late, assholes. You've fucking screwed the pooch. Right now there are a bunch of people who didn't know they were going to go with Xbox or Sony, thinking, yeah, Sony, thanks for that. You've just made my decision for me. I'm going to go Xbox, because clearly you don't give a shit about your customers. And like I said, it's not like when it was Xbox 360 versus PlayStation 3, because it's like they pre-shipped these things to stores and people went to the store and bought it, and you had I mean, I wasn't one of those nerds that, queued up the night before. It's like, I was one of the Harry Potter nerds. Don't get me wrong, I have queued late at night for something before, and it was the Order of the Phoenix. It was the Harry Potter 5 book. I waited all night outside of W.H. Smith's to get my hand on that book, but I knew that the book was in the store, and I knew that standing in the queue was going to get me what it was, not what happens these days, which is just, we'll make 1,000 units, we won't even ship them, the people that are going to be selling it for us don't even have it, and it fucks over the consumer. Whereas, if it's in the store and it's there because you saw the delivery trucks pull up and get all of the boxes out, and you're like, yeah, this is why I waited 12 hours in queue. I'm cold. I have a bag with urine strapped to my leg. I don't care. I'm going to get what I came here for.
Oh gosh, I can't say I've ever done that, to be honest. I've never done that. But...
the bag strapped to my leg. No, I've never done that. And no.
No, I mean, I've never actually the closest thing
I've never queued up for something. No. Come on, you've been to the conventions. You've queued up for photographs or an autograph.
Oh, yeah, but I already had the tickets bought and everything, So at that point, it was just waiting for my turn. It was already confirmed to be mine. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've done a couple of times where, with con last year, I knew that certain celebrities were going to go quick because there were only so many you can buy, and depending on how famous they were, I'm like, they're gonna sell out quick and I need to be ready. So I mean, I've done alarms on my phone because you have to buy them online. So last year there was Jeff Goldblum, and I'm like, I'm gonna go see Jeff Goldblum, and Elijah Wood. I did this with Elijah Wood too. And so, I mean, I had money, I had saved up a bunch of money from work and stuff ready for this, because this is a big, this is a really main thing that my family does every year. And so it's just worth it. And I set alarms on my phone for about 10 minutes before the tickets would be launched on sale. Mm-hmm. And so I just waited 30 seconds before I start refreshing. And I, boom, bought them, got them both, but they were sold out within moments,
Yeah.
And the only other thing I've done similar was, when I was 15 or 16, I think 16, Stone Temple Pilots got back together for a reunion tour. And Stone Temple Pilots is a very big deal for me and my mom and my stepdad. And I badly wanted to go. And my mom said, look, the only way you're going to go is if you somehow get those tickets for free. And our local radio station was giving away free tickets. And they were doing this for a few different pairs throughout a span of a few days. So for 2 days, I had the radio on constantly with a phone in each hand. Redial over and over and over until I did win my pair, and I flipped out. So I actually did get to go because I got those damn free tickets.
You got those damn free
tickets. But I never stood outside hoping to get a product that, hopefully don't sell out by the time I get there or something. That's
I think that's a you know what, I think that's a great way to end today's episode. Not talking about standing 12 hours in a queue with a bag of urine strapped to your leg, but sitting there with 2 phones in hand because you want something bad enough that you're prepared to sit there with 2 phones
And it paid off.
And it paid off. So, yes. So, yeah, we've been going for just shy of 90 minutes now. So I think that's good enough for episode 2. So we are going to say goodbye. Don't forget to hit that like, hit the subscribe. Follow us on Twitter. We've got our Twitter handles are just below us. Plus, Harley even fired up a specific new Twitter account, didn't you? Let everybody know what that is.
I was actually just gonna say, I'm gonna go into that Twitter account and I'm gonna set a poll now. Have you ever stood in line for hours on end for any sort of like product or movie, etc.?
Oh yeah, no,
camping out overnight. Have you done this? Yes or no? And tell us what you did it for. I'm gonna put that poll on the Twitter, which is, I believe the name is RLYL podcast. I think
that's what you did. Yeah, I think that was.
I believe that's what I did. So that'll be it. I'll go ahead and put that poll on there, and I'll retweet it for those of you who follow me on there, so you can see it. By all means, answer and spread it around.
Yeah,
I think that'll be a pretty fun poll to do, and we can address the results on the next episode.
Yeah, and if you've got anything else funny or interesting, put it in the comments below. Give us a good laugh. Yeah. Because standing in line.
Spilled all over your buddy's feet or something.
Yeah,
anything embarrassing to happen.
You have no idea how uncomfortable it is, being a full-grown male standing in a queue with a bunch of kids to get a children's book. I got some very, very weird looks.
Done it, though.
I got some very, very strange looks because I was not in fact. I'm looking around me and it's like, should I be in fancy dress? Should I really be in fancy dress?
I was gonna say the important question is, did you look the part?
No, I didn't. I just got. I was in the army. I didn't. I would have been. Permanently ostracized by all my squaddy buddies if I had like a Harry Potter costume. So I just went to the bookstore, and everyone's dressed in, wizarding gear, and I'm like, yeah, I can't do that. And I didn't even have a wand. It's like, yeah, no, I'm just going to stand here quietly and wait for the store to open and get my book. So, yeah, if you've got funny or interesting stories like that, definitely throw them down in the comments below. And as I've said, hit the like, hit the subscribe, follow us on Twitter, and we will see you guys all next week. So, and until next Sunday, cheerio, folks.
Bye, everyone.